Good morning, everyone. All right, we'll get started. Just like to say you're welcome to turn your camera on. This is an interactive Kids in the Kitchen class, but please keep yourselves muted unless you are taking yourselves off mute to ask a question. It is so nice to see so many faces here today on our school break cooking presentation. So welcome to Kids in the Kitchen. This is a family cook-along event or a kids cook-along event. We love seeing parents in here to Hospital and Cohen Children's.
My name is Stephanie DeFilia Peck, and I am a registered dietitian with Northwell as well. And I work in the Power Kids Weight Management Program. I see a few names that I recognize, so I'm so excited that everyone joined us today. And I'm gonna take it. Let Sweta take it over.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Sweta Shah. I am the registered dietitian with the Northwell Health, and I work with a lot of ambulatory offices in Nassau and Suffolk County. Thank you for joining, everyone.
Awesome.
Hi.
Hi, everyone. If you're just joining us, if you could just keep yourselves muted, you're welcome to turn your cameras on, but just keep yourselves muted unless you're raising your hand to unmute and ask a question. If you do have a question at any time, you can either put it in the chat and we will be reading those, or you can use the raise hand function and we'll call on you so you can ask your question on camera or off mute. We are going to be making 3 different recipes today. You should have received the recipes over your email. If you did not receive your recipes over email, just put your email address in a private message in the chat and we will definitely get it to you. So we're going to be cooking along. I'm going to be demonstrating 2 of the recipes. Sweta is going to be demonstrating 1 of the recipes, and hopefully you guys cook along with us. If you don't want to cook along with us and you just want to watch, that's cool too. You can make the recipes in another time. Stephanie and Sweta are going to be also chatting with me about some healthy nutrition conversations. You guys can learn some things. And pay attention because at the end, we're going to have some trivia games and see if you guys know some of the answers. All right. So who's ready to cook? My friends on camera, you want to give me a thumbs up if you're ready to start cooking? Yeah? Okay, awesome. All right. So our first recipe that we're going to make, if you have your recipes in front of you, is the mummy pizza. So mom or dad's in the room or kids that are old enough to turn the ovens on themselves. Make sure your ovens or toaster ovens are preheated to 450 degrees. When you make pizza, you want it to be nice and hot. So please make sure that you turn your ovens on so it gets baking well. All right, we are recording, moms and dads in the room, we are recording, but I will tell you that we will make sure to edit out any kids that are on camera. You don't need to worry about any of that for the recording purposes, okay? Only our lovely faces and lovely recipe demonstrations will be on the recording. All right, I'm gonna tilt my camera down so we can get started on the recipe. So you guys will be able to see my screen. Is that good? You guys see? All right. Perfection. All right, so clearly I can't see you at the moment. So if you have questions, please either put them in the chat or unmute, and one of my colleagues, Stephanie or Sweta, perhaps you can shout it out to me, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna start with our mummy pizza. I've got my nice bowl here, and we're gonna start with our flour. So I have mixed together in the flours my whole wheat flour and my all-purpose flour. So this is a whole grain crust. And I'm gonna mix together my dry ingredients, my rising agent, which is my baking powder, and my salt together, which I've mixed together here. And I'm gonna mix all the dry ingredients together in this bowl until they're well mixed. And Stephanie, while I'm doing that, do you wanna tell us a little bit about the reason why we're using a whole grain crust today?
Absolutely. So whole grains are so beneficial for us, and it's important that we use them in foods together to, sorry, I'm nervous, guys. It's important for all the nutritional benefits of them. They give us a source of fiber. They give us more B vitamins and protein. And the way that we're doing the pizza today, we're combining some whole grain flour with some white flour. So you get the different tastes together and see how you can blend them. And that's often how we recommend people introduce them into our way of eating.
Awesome. Thanks, Stephanie. See, and it's okay. Even adults get nervous, guys. Adults and kids. Everyone gets nervous, especially when you're presenting in front of people. It's all good, Stephanie. We got you. All right. So we're mixing everything together. You can use your hands. You could use a spoon. Other things you could mix in here if you want to add even more nutrition, mom or dads or parents, guardians, whoever's in the room. You could add some ground flaxseed into here. You could add some chia seed even into here to add some extra fiber and nutrition into the crust, but you do not have to. So then everything is what we call sifted together. You could use a real sifter if you want to. You could also use your hands, which is really fun to touch the flour, or just a spoon is totally fine. Now this is like a secret, really fun way to make pizza dough crust. So you can buy pizza dough, whole grain pizza dough at your local pizzeria, but this is a really simple recipe that makes everything really affordable and really healthy, where you're controlling the ingredients and you're adding some really nutritious stuff in here to make a great pizza dough. So this is plain Greek yogurt. I'm using 2% plain Greek yogurt. And what it's going to do in here is it's going to turn it magically into a dough. So I'm going to take my Greek yogurt here, which is loaded with calcium for healthy bones and something called probiotics, which is so good for our tummies, to help us do something that all dietitians talk about, and I know kids love to talk about, which is poop, right? Definitely help us with that. Help us also just have really good digestive systems. All right, so I put about a cup of yogurt in there, and it should be plain yogurt because otherwise it's gonna make your dough taste kind of funny. And so now the fun part, I'm gonna mix it together with your flour until it forms the dough. So I'm gonna start out by using my spoon here, but I'm gonna have to get my hands in there. It's the best way to mix it, and it's certainly a lot more fun. So I'm gonna take my rings off, and I'm gonna get my hands nice and dirty. Sometimes hands are the best cooking tools. A lot of times hands are the best cooking tools. So I'm gonna get in there and I'm gonna mix it. It's gonna start out kind of crumbly, and then it's gonna turn into a dough. And this dough is really great for so many things. You can make pizza with it. You could make fun cinnamon sticks with it. You could make anything you wanted to that you would use pizza dough for. Sometimes people make breakfast pizza with it. I've made that for my kids. I put avocado on it and an egg on top for breakfast, like a brunch. This is a method that you guys can use to do anything you want with it. You could make little calzones with it. You could make pizza wheels with it. Really anything. Once you really get it working, it's gonna form into a dough. And if yours is a little too wet, you could add a little more flour. And if it's a little too dry and you have more yogurt, you could add more yogurt to it. All right, you see, as I knead it, it's turning into a real dough here. All right. We're gonna use this to make our pizza. Any questions so far, guys? No questions yet? Okay. And of course, we're gonna make this Halloween pizza, so we're gonna make it into mummy pizza. But you don't have to do that either. That's just for fun, to get into the Halloween spirit. I know my family, we were decorating for Halloween this weekend, and I'm sure a lot of other families were too. So I'm getting really excited for Halloween and want to do something festive this morning. All right. How's everyone's dough looking? Anyone have any questions about their dough? Is it looking like dough yet? Oh, I see Amalia's really kneading her dough there. Yeah, a thumbs up. Thank you.
Amy,
Let's
can
see.
I add in something? We had
Of
said that
course.
if you wanted to, you could have like a floured surface. So sometimes if it's sticking to your hands, another technique could be to put the dough on the floured surface, not too much flour,
Yes.
and that might help a little bit as well.
Yes, you definitely can do that. Because I'm cooking multiple recipes, I chose the bowl method today so that I wasn't mixing our apple nachos with the with the flour. Give me a little more prep time, but thank you, Stephanie. You definitely can do that. So now that I have my dough formed, I'm gonna move my bowl to the side, and I'm gonna take my baking sheet where I do have a floured surface, and we're gonna lie it flat, but you're gonna cut it into 6 pieces. Spreading out my flour in case I need it. So this turns into about 6 pieces for mini mummy pizzas. And you can guesstimate this. If it only makes 5, it only makes 5. Mine's looking like it's about 5. I might be able to squeeze 6. And I'm gonna flatten it with my hands. You could also use, if you want it to be really thin, you could also use like a can or a rolling pin, but I think your hands for this recipe are just fine. You can flatten them out.
I see some people have the rolling pin out. That's awesome.
Oh,
I've even
that is
used a water
awesome.
bottle. I've even used a water bottle to roll it out.
Yeah, you can use whatever you have on hand. But just flattening it is perfectly fine. And I have parchment paper on top of my baking tray. Make sure it really doesn't stick. And for easy cleanup. All right. I'm gonna keep flattening them. And what's nice about this dough is it's a yeast-free dough. It doesn't need to rise. It doesn't need to take a lot of time. You can make it ahead of time, parents, guardians, adults in the room. You can have it for later on if you ever want it for a quick weeknight meal. But this is a great thing for kids, for you guys to make dinner for your parents all by yourself. You definitely could do that if you're old enough to touch the oven. All right.
Can
Almost
I ask
there.
a question here, Amy?
Of course.
If we make this ahead of time, how do we store it?
If
Let's
you
say
make
I
it
make
ahead
it
of
in the morning
time,
for tonight.
yeah, you keep it in the refrigerator. I would probably wrap it in some plastic wrap so it doesn't dry out and put it in the fridge in a tight little ball. And then you can roll them out when you get home.
Or can we use a shrink wrap?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like a plastic shrink wrap. Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. All right, I've got some extra flour on mine, so I'm just gonna remove that so it doesn't burn in the oven. And I'll be right back. You guys can still hear me?
Yes.
All right, good.
And I'm just going to add in that if you do the leftover dough and you put it in the fridge, just let it sit out a little bit so it gets to room temperature, because it'll work better. Dough will stretch better if it's at room temperature.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so I've got my 5 doughs here. These have to go into the oven a little bit before we can do the next step. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna really flatten them out, make sure they're really great. My oven is preheated. And while they're baking in the oven for a few minutes, Swatch is gonna do the next recipe. Before we do that, I'll tell you what we're gonna do once they're out of the oven. So once they're out of the oven, they're in there for about 10 minutes. They go in just like this. They're gonna come out and we're gonna turn them into our pizza by putting on what we're using today. I'm using broccoli florets, the cheese and the sauce, and my olive slices. Sorry, lost my word for a second. And so we're gonna do that after we preheat the dough for a little bit. Cook it just for a little bit. We want a really crunchy dough, and we want to make sure it's really cooked through. So Stephanie, why do we add vegetables? Why are we adding vegetables onto our pizza today?
So we're adding vegetables for all their wonderful benefits. They are full of vitamins and minerals. One of the reasons why vegetables have their colors is based on the vitamins and minerals that they contain. And so it's really important to add the vegetables. They also give us a source of fiber, and fiber is really important for us for many reasons, including what we talked about before, helping us go to the bathroom, poop, as well as our cardiac, for our heart, to prevent diseases and to just keep our whole system healthy. So that's another reason why we want to have vegetables, because they are a great source of fiber.
And is the broccoli the only vegetable we can add, or do we think we can add other ones too? If that's people's preference.
Sure, you can add anything. We just thought we would hide the broccoli underneath later when we get the cheese going, and that would sort of be like a spooky little hidden thing since we're talking about Halloween, but you could do any vegetable at all. Different vegetables have different water content. So just make sure it's a very if it's a very wet vegetable, do you kind of pat it dry a little bit.
Yeah, or you could even saute it a little bit. Like if mushrooms are your favorite, maybe you want to saute them a little bit first and get the water out. I think that's awesome.
That sounds like a
All right.
great idea.
Any questions about the pizza while before we move on to our second recipe? Good? All right, Sweta, you ready? What are we doing next?
So we are going to do our pumpkin chocolate bites. I'm going to tilt my laptop just so everyone can see. I'm going to take this bowl out of the way. We don't need that. I have all the ingredients laid out. I have my recipe here. So for this pumpkin chocolate bites, we need oats, nut butter. It can be peanut butter, almond butter, or any alternative. If any one of you is allergic to any kind of nut, you could always use sunflower butter or soy butter. And there is going to be pumpkin puree that we're going to use, and some small ingredients like maple syrup, cinnamon, pumpkin pie spice, vanilla extract, chia seeds, some chopped up nuts, and you could use your own variations. You could mix up. I have them chopped up here. I'm using the walnuts for later on, but you can either use walnuts, almonds, pistachios. You can get a bag of mixed nuts and just chop them up. So I hope you all have those things ready. And then I've measured out even a 1/4 cup of the mini dark chocolate chips. So we have all of it here. And of course, I did forget our chia seeds, which are also lined up. All right, so I'm going to be using...
what are chia seeds and why are they so healthy?
Great question, Amy. So chia seeds, this is how they look, and they pack in a lot of nutrients. They pack in iron, fiber, protein, calcium, all of that. And they are great addition to add in all of those nutrients into your recipes. And if I missed anything, Amy and Stephanie, please jump in.
I'd love to add that they also contain a special kind of fat, which is a really healthy fat. Yeah. It's similar to the fat that's in fish, but it's not a fish. It's called alpha linoleic acid, if you want a fancy word. And it's really good for us there. And the chia seeds we're using today are not the same as the chia pet, in case anyone was wondering. But they're really healthy.
Thank you, Stephanie. Okay. So while your pizza is going, we're going to get ready with the chocolate bites. So all we have to do is mix in all the ingredients that I mentioned. So I'm going to start doing this while you do it on your end. So this is about 1.5 cups of quick oats. And you want to probably use quick oats for so that they are easily mixable in the recipe. And this is the almond butter that I'm using today. It's about 1/2 cup, and I brought it out to room temperature already. So it looks a little liquidy like this. And you mix it in. And like I mentioned earlier, feel free to use any nut butter or nut butter alternative. And then we go on to our third ingredient, which is 1/2 cup of the pumpkin puree. I have measured it all out so that we are just ready to jump in. And I understand if you haven't done that.
Can I just say really quickly, because I think a lot of kids, maybe adults, don't know this. If you taste a little bit of the pumpkin puree as it is, you might notice it doesn't taste anything like quote unquote pumpkin, right? What we think of as pumpkin, because the pumpkin flavor comes from pumpkin spice or cloves and ginger and cinnamon and things like that. So I think it's really interesting for you guys to taste pumpkin as it is naturally, the plain pumpkin. And then depending how much seasoning you like, you can make it taste as quote unquote pumpkin flavor as you like. So when you guys think of pumpkin spice lattes and all these pumpkin seasoned things, some of them don't even have pumpkin in them. They're just all the flavoring, and the pumpkin itself is where all the nutrition is. So just wanted to add that little tidbits. A lot of people don't know that.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
And I don't want to hold up Sweta from mixing, but pumpkin is really, really healthy. All that deep orange color means it has a lot of antioxidants. And canned pumpkin is really healthy because right from the farm, things are then put into a can. So you get all the goodness and all the freshness from a fresh pumpkin right in the can. And it's really great to use.
Yes, and that's what I have used today. It's the canned pumpkin puree that I'm using. And Stephanie mentioned a great point. While I continue to add in, this is the maple syrup that I'm adding in. But like Stephanie mentioned, you can use even the canned, like for example, the frozen vegetables and everything, which of course not a part of this recipe. Just touch base on it, that those are also healthy options. All right, going back to mixing. So maple syrup, and now it's the cinnamon powder that I'm adding in. And then comes in the pumpkin pie spice.
My favorite part. To me, the more pumpkin tasting it is, the better.
Yep. And this is the vanilla extract. And now the last three ingredients which we have here are the chia seeds and the nuts and the chocolate chips. All right, now ready to get messy? Cooking is not cooking if you don't get your hands messy. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna put my ring out on the side.
I agree.
Just like I tell my daughter all the time, that if you're in the kitchen, you are going to get messy.
You know, and
That's the fun
for
way.
parents, sorry, so for parents who might be a little bit concerned about that, you know, they do have the drop cloths. There's lots of things you can put down, and then you just pick it all up and, you know, get it cleaned up easily that way. But kids learn by touching, feeling, creating. When a child creates something with their own hands and they see it transform and come to life, it really lasts a lifetime that they were able to create and make something happen that way. So really indulge them and let them get their hands a little messy, because it really, really is invaluable for the future. It makes them feel empowered.
And I'll just add to that, Stephanie, it's such a good point that it's also a sensory experience, which is can be, especially for younger children. I have younger children, can be very calming, just like playing with Play-Doh or slime or things like that. Playing with something in the kitchen with your hands, that's like the recipe that Sweta is doing, can be a very de-stressing, anxiety reducing experience. During the pandemic, I taught a series called Calming Cooking, and that's what I thought it was a social worker, and a lot of the feedback from parents was that it was a very calming, relaxing experience for their children after school, especially to decompress. So keep that in mind as well, that it is relaxing for all. Definitely.
You both bring out a very good point, and that is something we actually tell our families who might want to start using food as play. A lot of times kids can be a little pickier on certain foods to eat and include in their intake. So you can always use that to play, and the sensory exposure is the best one to start getting. All right, so I have my cookie sheet lined up on the side here, and we are rolling the balls and starting to put them on. The recipe says it comes to about 20, so let's see how many it comes out to. And then once we are done rolling the balls, we are gonna go and freeze it out in for 1 hour. Oops.
So
They
Amy,
look so delicious.
timer wise on our pizza crust, how are we doing with that?
Yeah, I just pulled out my pizza crust, so I'm letting them cool down just a little bit while Sweta does her rolling. We'll get back to the pizza crust as soon as she's done. But mine are out of the oven for its first bake at this point.
I just thought I would mention it in case anyone didn't set a timer and they were involved in the other next step.
Yes, mine are done, but others might not be quite done. And I'll just say we didn't talk about this, and this might be hint thing for our future trivia questions. Stephanie, are all seeds as healthy as nuts, or are all seeds healthy, or is it just the chia seeds we've been talking about?
No, all seeds are very healthy. We have hemp seeds, pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds. flax seeds. With flax seeds, we do want to grind them because it's easier for us to then digest. It's important for us to digest them that way, but any seed is important. And nuts and seeds both contain healthy fats. And using a combination of them or a variety of them is really, really good for you to do. You get the different flavors and textures. Like today we use chia seeds in a moist environment. Usually that's where chia seeds are known from, but I love to bake with chia seeds and then they get a little bit crispy. So both nuts and seeds are very healthy and very nutritious.
Awesome. And then we spoke a little bit about like the pumpkin when it's canned right from the farm and it's super healthy for us. Can you explain a little bit about like what eating seasonally means and why that is so important to use local ingredients and maybe why it's a little healthier?
Sure. So when things are local, they are picked at their peak. They have more of their nutrients and they have more flavor. They don't have to be picked early from the vine and then transported somewhere to us. So even though, especially if you're in New York like we are, you can get a lot of different things all time of the year. We'd rather have things seasonal because they're going to be, like I said, at their peak of perfection for nutrients and flavor. And so that's really great that way. And often it could be a cost savings to you because the manufacturer or the transporter didn't have to spend so much money transporting it. Farmers markets are great for that, but lots of supermarkets also sell seasonal produce.
Awesome. Thanks. Sweta, those pumpkin bites look so delicious. I make energy bites for my kids for their after school snack to bring with them. And I might do that one. I do it with sun butter for respect of their allergy friends, but that looks great. That looks like a great after school snack.
You know, you bring up a great point. Yeah, great point is that sometimes we use allergy-friendly ingredients because we're just being aware that other people our kids might be exposed to might also have allergies. And it's a great way to try something new. If you've never tried sun butter or almond butter or wow butter, which is made from soy, those are all peanut butter alternatives.
Yeah. We as a family practice just keeping nuts at home for the respect of our allergy friends. And we do nuts in the morning and then we do nuts allergy-friendly seeds for school so that we can all sit together and be very happy with our friends. That's how we do things, but everyone does it differently. Use whatever you want and eat them in variety. That's the whole point.
Yep, that's the whole point. And this can be a very good snack for you guys after you come back from school too.
Yeah, or breakfast.
Or breakfast, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we're looking for balance. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so just to review,
I don't think I got 20 bites. Let's see how many I got here. I'm going to turn my camera a little bit. Let's count 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Oh, 20 bites. Okay.
Wow, you're good.
Perfect.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to just turn up my screen. So like you said, the hands can be messy. And I'll turn it to you while I put these pumpkin bites in the freezer.
Sure. All right, so we're gonna get back to our pizza now. I'm gonna tilt my screen down. See, and I should mention at the end, we definitely want to see all of your creations. So at the end, we're definitely going to give you guys a chance to share if you want to. So these are how my pizzas came out on their first bake. Right, so you can see them in the camera here. They did poof up and I had to flatten them a little bit. We could also have poked them with a fork. That could have worked too. But if you didn't, like I didn't, and I forgot, you just squish them back down and they're totally fine. So now I'm gonna start building my pizza and turning them into mummy pizza. You don't have to make them mummies if you don't like mummies or you don't want to, but you certainly can. Okay, so I'm gonna start by putting a little bit of tomato sauce on each of them. And the tomato sauce is really nutritious for us for a lot of reasons. We got some vitamin C in there, especially if I was using spinach with this recipe. Vitamin C is a great way to unlock the power of iron, to absorb iron with non-animal irons, like from spinach. So the combination of the two is like a lock and a key. It's gonna help us absorb it. So I know a lot of kids don't like tomato sauce, but it is really, really nutritious if we can get them to eat it. Another vegetable for sure. And I'm using low sodium tomato sauce. We don't get a lot of extra salt. Now I'm using my broccoli florets, which I'm using frozen broccoli. And I like using frozen broccoli for a few reasons. One, it's easy. Two, it is picked fresh in season, like we talked about before. So it's going to really give us the most nutrition for each bite, especially in the winter time. I like having that available. And it's very affordable. All right, so I'm just gonna put a couple of pieces on each. And like we said, if we're trying broccoli for the first time today, maybe you just put one piece on there and that's totally fine. Or if broccoli isn't your favorite and you want to use a different vegetable, all the power to you as well. All right, so I've got my broccoli on there. Now I'm gonna design with my mummy. So to make a mummy, we're gonna crisscross the mummy. So when I put my eyes on, it's gonna make more sense. So you're gonna take your string cheese and you're gonna peel it down so it's in a crisscross pattern. This is not an exact science, okay? This is just for fun. There's no right or wrong here. This is you guys getting creative with your crisscrossing. Apparently I can't crisscross and talk at the same time. I'm gonna try to crisscross.
Well,
like
I think
this.
when the cheese stick sits out a little bit too, it gets a little bit harder to work with. And when a cheese stick is still really cold from the fridge, it might tear a little bit easier. So I think it's looking pretty good to me.
No matter what, it will taste delicious. All right. And then I'm gonna put my olive eyes on there. I've got my mummy eyes. You guys can see that. That's what my mummy looks like. If you don't like olives, you do not have to use them, but it will make it definitely fun. And the string cheese just makes it really simple, because I think most people have some string cheese in their refrigerator, unless we have some dairy allergies. It's a really fun thing to use and keeps our portion of cheese in check.
And
All
you know,
right,
dairy and cheese in particular, they're a great source of other vitamins and minerals. So we get our vitamin D, and it's okay to use a part skim mozzarella. You're getting a little bit of the creaminess from the mozzarella cheese, as well as the benefits of getting some of your calcium and vitamin D.
Yeah. If you were in a rush and you didn't have time to make your own dough, you could also do this with English muffins. That would be another fun way to do this. Just to give you guys some more ideas. I'm using about, let's see, what do we say? Using about 6 string cheeses here. All the way across. Any questions so far? The broccoli. I see a question about the broccoli.
I do.
So
see
the
that,
broccoli, yeah. So the broccoli has been, I put it in the microwave just for a little bit to soften up just a little. I don't want to overcook it because it's going in the oven. So I put it in the microwave for about a minute just to defrost it and cook it a little bit. If you steam it and then put it in the oven, you're going to overcook it. So you definitely don't want to cook it too much.
What I would add is
Good
if you are
question, though.
using fresh broccoli, you would probably want to just get it a little bit steamed, like Amy said, but it's really up to your preference. Some people like vegetables crunchier than other people.
Exactly. Broccoli is something you can eat totally raw if you wanted to. So if that's your preference, you don't have to cook it. I think on the pizza it does taste a little bit better if it's cooked a little. All right, almost there. Got my crisscross pattern. I got to put my olives on. And then I'm good. And look, you can't even tell that the broccoli's there. It's a secret. It's a secret.
I love it. They look really good.
Yes.
And there was a question in the chat about if the session is being recorded. It is being recorded, and it will eventually post to our Power Kids CCMC Facebook page. We also did another one of these cooking classes in March, and that's already posted to our page. We made 3 other ingredients, so we'd love for you to visit. I'll just put that in the chat, Power Kids CCMC.
Thanks, Stephanie. I'm just gonna put I put my pizzas back in the oven for another 10 minutes. I'm gonna keep checking on it though, and I'm gonna move on to our apple nachos. So our apple nachos, I love apple nachos because you can do anything with them. You can have it for a snack, you can have it for dessert, you could have it for breakfast if you make it in a certain way. And it's a really fun, exciting way to get creative with apples. So you might have a ton of from apple picking this year if you live in the tri-state area. So I have my apples here. Before I get started on cutting my apples, I'm just gonna warm up. I am using peanut butter today. I'm just gonna warm that up just so it's a little bit easier to spread. I'm gonna put it in the microwave for about 30 seconds. And while that's doing that, I'm gonna show you guys how to cut an apple properly, okay? So you could use any color apples you want for this. You could use green apples, you could use red apples, you could use yellow apples, whatever works for you. I like to use a variety. My kids ate all of my green apples this weekend, so I ran out of green apples. But if you are using green apples for the first time, or it's the first time you're trying it, it might be a really great way to mix in like 1 or 2 slices of the green apples to get a flavor of the different options. So I'm going to be using a real knife today, a chef's knife today. Kids at home, if you are not old enough to use knives, please let your parents do this part. Parents, if you would like your kids to have a try at using a knife, I would not use a knife like this with them. I wouldn't use a butter knife either. That might not exactly work at this first initial part. You could use an apple corer if you have one, or you could use a smaller knife. There's actually misconception that dull knives are safer. Dull knives are not safer. When knives are dull, you slip and are very easy to cut yourself. So the sharper the knife, the safer it is. What's important is to learn how to hold your hands in the right way so you don't cut yourself. But dull knives are not safe for anybody. So I'm going to start by cutting my apple down the middle. So when I cut, I keep my hands very protected. I never cut in between my fingers. I never cut like this where I'm gonna, sorry, you can't see it, cut like this where you're gonna cut my hands. I'm very protective of my hands. So to start cutting the apple to the middle, I'm gonna hold my apple really firmly, making sure you never wanna cut it where it's not on a flat surface, because when it rolls, that's very dangerous. So keeping my apple very safe, holding it with my 2 tips of my fingers, I'm gonna cut through the middle, careful to give a lot of space between my knife and the inside of my hand. I'm going to cut it in half. And then again, this is wobbly. This is dangerous. You keep it flat when you cut it to the next part. You cut it in half again, holding your fingers very wide so you have nowhere near the knife to my hand. I cut it in quarters. Now, here's the tricky part. Most people would try to stand it up like this and cut it. Again, that's a wobbly surface. That's not safe. So you're going to keep your apple core flat, and you're going to cut it on an angle to get out the core. So I'm going to hold it really tight from end to end. I'm going to cut it on an angle and get the perfect core every time. No need for an apple corer. Yeah, they're fun, but you don't need it. You can do this just perfectly without it. So I cut out my cores while keeping my hands very, very safe. That part, maybe kids could do with a butter knife, but not the initial part. All right. So I'm going to do both apples today. Questions about the cutting as I'm doing this?
Could I just add something in, Amy? I find that a lot of times, a lot of my participants like sour flavors. So
Yeah.
what I suggest is that you let your child try different types of apples, because not everyone likes the, red delicious, very sweet variety. Some people like some of the apples that have more of a tart flavor. And so they might say, oh, I don't like apples, but it might be that they haven't tried the different varieties of apples.
Mhm.
And that's another reason why farmers markets and eating seasonally is really helpful, because then you can try different ones.
Yeah, such a good point. Such a good point. Um, if you have a kid that prefers vegetables to fruits, for example, they really might like the sourness of tart apples, as instead of the super sweet ones. All right, so I'm cutting it into even smaller pieces. Okay. All right, so I'm not going to sprinkle this with lemon juice today, because it's going to get eaten pretty fast. But if you want to sprinkle it with lemon juice so it lasts longer and doesn't brown, you definitely can. Lemon juice is a special thing, like all vitamin C, that helps to keep the oxidation reaction from happening. You guys are looking at science live in your kitchen. You put a little bit of vitamin C or a little bit of lemon juice on your apples to prevent them from turning brown. If you put orange juice on it, it would do the same thing, or pineapple juice. Lemon also brings out the sweetness in the apple. So if that makes your apples taste even sweeter and that's not your preference, to make it even sweeter tasting, you don't have to do that. I'm arranging a pretty pattern for camera, but you guys do not have to do this by any means. All right, so I'm going to take my apple slices. You could just dump them on a plate. You definitely could do that.
No, it looks delicious the way that you're doing it. I'm deciding if I'm going to make it later myself at home.
This is one of our favorite desserts in my house, often in the fall time when it's the apple season. This
Yes.
is one of our go-tos.
Yes, it's a really, really good one, for sure.
And I had
Okay.
someone ask me last week if they didn't want to use apples, could they use another fruit? And of course you could.
Yes, you definitely could. All right,
And
so
you can also use anything other than peanut butter, like we did in the pumpkin bites. You can also use almond butter. Like my husband does not like peanut butter, for example, so we do it with almond butter. So you can use any nut butter or alternative that you have at hand or your
yes,
family prefers.
yes. But the peanut butter is what's going to add the nice protein, which is so important for snacking. And I don't know, Sweta, if you want to tell us a little bit about why this type of protein is so healthy. What is a plant-based protein and why it's so nutritious?
So plant-based protein is another way of adding protein to your intake. A lot of times when we think about protein, we think about meat, but snack time, you might want to consider adding something like this so that you can pair the fruits with your plant-based protein. And at the same time, it also helps to satisfy you when you're eating it and slows down the digestion at the same time. And Stephanie, please add in, or Amy, please add in anything that I haven't.
Yeah, those are really great points. What I would add in is that plant-based protein doesn't contain any saturated fat, for the most part. So we're not getting the saturated fat that we would get from non-plant-based protein, from animal protein. And plant-based protein, because it comes from plants, gives us fiber. And animal protein doesn't have fiber. So when I'm eating my plant-based protein, the fiber benefits that we talked about before for heart health, for digestive health, like you said, Sweta, to make us feel full and satisfied. Those are all tremendous benefits that we get from having more plant-based protein. And then I'm just going to add in also that it is less perishable. So if I put peanut butter on something or bring peanut butter, I don't have to worry as much about having an ice pack or making sure that it's at the right temperature, because it can be eaten at room temperature for the peanut butter.
Awesome. And what are some other examples of plant-based protein besides nuts and seeds, guys?
So some other examples would be legumes. So things like black beans and garbanzo beans, or chickpeas, as most people refer to them, which you can make hummus out of. You can do roasted chickpeas. That's my favorite way to have them, just on a cookie sheet with a little bit of olive oil and seasoning. Delicious. And then things like edamame, which is the soybean, which then becomes tofu or tempeh or soy milk. So there's lots of different plant-based proteins. I'm sure I'm not even naming all of them.
Yeah, no, those are all great examples for sure.
And then just to add in a few to what Stephanie said, tofu is another one that comes from soy, or tempeh or miso.
Yes, and people tend to have a lot of misconceptions about soy, about how safe it is or healthy it is. And really, if it's a natural source of soy, like tofu or edamame beans, in moderation, it's very nutritious. A lot of parents can shy away from it, but it's a wonderful, wonderful thing to include, and you do not have to be concerned about soy from natural sources to be including in their diet. So I took the peanut butter and I painted, which is really, really fun, guys. If you like to paint, painting with nut butter or peanut butter is even more fun. So I went in a circular motion. You could also have just done it however you wanted or put gobs on. I like to make it so it's like painting because I find that really relaxing. And then you could put whatever toppings you want on it. Some suggestions we had were some dark chocolate chips, granola, raisins, some more nuts, some unsweetened coconut. I'm going to take a little bit of this cinnamon and sprinkle it on. I'm going to use my fingers actually, because my family, we really love cinnamon peanut butter. And again, it's like painting.
And cinnamon has many other benefits also. Lots of herbs and seasonings give us a lot of benefits. Cinnamon is really, really flavorful, of course, but it also has some antimicrobial benefits and also helps us with blood sugar maintenance. So cinnamon is a great spice to have around.
Yes, and it's so perfect for the fall. So I'm going to sprinkle some granola on here. That's my choice. I'm going to use some granola. It's nut-free granola. Not that it matters because I'm using peanut butter, but just so parents know, there are nut-free granolas out there. Okay, now I'm going to take some dark chocolate mini chips and I'm going to sprinkle that on. And this is really your preference, however you want to design your apple nachos. But these are my apple nachos.
They look delicious.
They smell ridiculously delicious. I'm going to take over my pizzas, which are now out of the oven. Put them on camera here. There are my mummy pizzas.
Wow.
Spooky, scary. Got some spooky, scary ones over there. Does anyone else want to share? Does anyone else have stuff done yet? If not, we can wait till the end. If anyone, you can raise your hand or you can unmute if you want to share. Yeah. Oh, the Murphys. I see the Murphys.
Ooh,
let's see. Oh, beautiful.
Good.
And you've even got the whole apple in the middle for presentation.
Look
Love
at that.
it.
Wow.
Amalia, yours are gorgeous.
Oh, I love it. Looks like raisins,
I love
maybe.
the pizza.
Oh, look at those.
Beautiful. Your pattern is even better than
chips.
mine.
And green apple. Yep, I love it.
Let's see the pizza again. And parents, we hope you are appreciative on the call.
Goes out from the freezer.
All right, let's see Murphy's. Let's see your pumpkin bites. Oh, good job.
Looking good. Excellent.
So good. Beautiful, Sweta.
Nice. So these are how they came out.
Awesome.
And you might still have some extra time left to put them in the freezer bag if you want. It's usually, the recipe calls for an hour, but it's okay to try it out.
Yeah. Okay, I see the Murphys are eating it. Thumbs up if you like the recipes. Are they good? Awesome. I love it. Oh, Amalia, those are great.
Looks good, yeah. Freezing them just helps them to keep more together, but if you like a crumbly energy bite, then you don't have to keep it in the freezer as long.
Yeah. I especially little pro tip, parents, if you're using them like after school, like with sport and stuff like that, or on the go on the weekends, I will put them in like a thermos so that they stay together. Otherwise, if they're in your backpack or something on the sports field, they get kind of melty.
Mm.
So I put them in thermoses and then stick them in our to-go bag or my kids' bags, and then they stay like a whole shape. So just don't stick them in a baggie and stick them in a backpack when it's warm out. They'll melt. You don't want to do that. So put them in a thermos or something. It'll be a little better.
That's
All right, we
good
have a
tip.
few. Yeah. Okay, so we have a few minutes left. You guys want to play some trivia? See how much you learned?
Yes.
So you're going to see polls, Zoom polls pop up on your screen, and we're going to go through question by question. So let's see how much you guys learned. So if we could launch the first poll. Excellent. Okay, so true or false, it is important to make most of your grain choices whole grains. What do you guys think? Yes or no? True or false? Let's say audience is, I've got a smart audience, I think. Smart group.
You all did a great job.
All right. Let's see. We can end this poll and let's see. We can share the answers. All right. All 7 of you said true. Stephanie, what's the answer to this one?
The answer is true. You're all smart. So the whole grains
Awesome.
are really important for us. They have lots of benefits and they're full of energy. I can go on and on about whole grains.
Great. All right. Let's do the next question. Let's see if we can stump them. Let's do the next question. All right. True or false? Adding veggies to your homemade pizza is a great way to boost fiber and vitamins and minerals in your pizza. What do you guys think? Yes or no? Is adding homemade veggies, oh, I didn't launch the poll. I should do that. Adding homemade veggies to your pizza a great way to boost fiber and vitamins and minerals in your pizza? What do we think?
Answers are coming in.
All right, I don't think we have stumped this group yet. The answer, Sweta, what's the answer to this one?
Everyone has said true, and that is true. We have a smart audience, definitely.
Awesome. All right, let's go to the next question. Okay, question 3 is about pumpkin. I didn't say this one. We didn't say this one. So let's see if they know it. Pumpkin is a great source of vitamin D, vitamin K, or vitamin A. What do you guys think? Ooh, our answers are all over the map now. Let's see. What do you guys think? Pumpkin is a great source of vitamin D, vitamin K, or vitamin A. All right, let's see what the answers are. Okay, Stephanie, the majority of our audience said vitamin A. What's the answer?
The answer is vitamin A. We didn't really talk enough about this, I'm sorry, but beta carotene and vitamin A are connected and it's a great source. Anything that's deep in orange is a great source of beta carotene, which becomes vitamin A.
Awesome. All right, next question. Local seasonal fruits, so true or false, local and seasonal fruits and vegetables, like from the farmer's market, are less healthy than other fruits and vegetables. What do you think? True or false? Local and seasonal fruits and vegetables, like the ones we would buy at the farmer's market, are less healthy than other fruits and vegetables. What do we think? True or false? All right, let's share it with everyone. Everyone said false. Sweta, what's the answer?
Yeah, the answer is correct. It's false. They are a great healthy source.
Awesome. All right. Next question. Let's see who was paying attention. True or false? Seeds are just as healthy as nuts. What do you guys think? Yes or no? Are seeds just as healthy as nuts? True or false? All right. Everyone said true. Let's share those answers. Stephanie, what do we think?
The answer is true. You're all paying attention. Excellent job.
Awesome. So we have any nut allergies here? If you're eating seeds, they're just as healthy as nuts. You're getting all that nutrition. Awesome. All right. Next question. Which of the following foods is a great source of plant-based protein? See who was paying attention. Peanut butter, cheese, chicken, tofu, or peanut butter and tofu? Which of the following foods is a great source of plant-based protein? Peanut butter, cheese, chicken, tofu, or peanut butter and tofu? All right, the answers are coming in. The answers are coming in. All right, let's share it. We can't stump this group.
No, they were paying attention. I'm so impressed.
Yeah, they are paying attention.
Stephanie, what's the answer here?
The answer is peanut butter and tofu. They're both very healthy plant-based proteins.
Awesome. All right, here we go. It's our last question. We got 1 minute left. This is just for fun. On Halloween, before people started using pumpkins, which of the following vegetables were also used to make jack-o'-lanterns? Beets, turnips, potatoes, or all of the above? Which of the following were used to make jack-o'-lanterns before pumpkins? Beets, turnips, potatoes, or all of the above? Take your best guess. I see the Murphys are hard at work. Let's see. All right, the majority said all of the above, and the answer is all of the above. People would carve everything to make jack-o'-lanterns, and then they figured out that pumpkins were really the best option. So they stuck with pumpkins, and now we don't see jack-o'-lanterns out of beets and turnips and potatoes. Which I think is so cute that no matter what, people wanted to make jack-o'-lanterns out of any type of vegetable they can. Thank you so much for cooking with us today and for playing with us today. You will see, don't go away yet, Murphys. We will see a survey pop up on your screen. Please take the survey before we leave. Your feedback is so important to us, and it's so important that we have this. We can continue to provide these free programs. They really help us to secure our funding and secure support for putting these on. So please fill out the survey. Murphy, did you have a question?